Okay, so now we're in the last part of the book. So know that there are different ways of doing a procedure for a hydroxide relaxer. The virgin application is used when the client has healthy hair, and I mean healthy, their hair is not damaged on the ends, there is no existing color. Full-on virgin hair, no color, no lightener. We're gonna do a virgin application, no other relaxer. And this application is in your book, but what you're gonna do is, because the scalp area and the porous ends process more quickly, we're gonna focus on that middle strand to make sure that gets really relaxed. And then when that's almost ready, everything else gets ready. So we focus on the strand. They start at a 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch away from the scalp, and they include the entire strand up to the porous ends. To avoid overprocessing and scalp irritation, you don't apply the relaxer to the hair close to the scalp or to the ends until the last few minutes of processing. So when you see this starting to go, you're then gonna apply and then wait and wait and wait. If the client says burning, you take it off immediately, no questions asked. I've seen people, and this is like my favorite, and they do this with bleach too. You'll be doing the relaxer and they'll go, okay, how is it? They'll go, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like, are you sure? And because they don't communicate that it's burning, they think, oh, I'm gonna keep it on as long as it lasts. I want it straighter. That's what some clients do. So make sure you're able to kind of like pick up on that, like, hey, like this isn't good, like we gotta rinse you. So the other type is a relaxer retouch, and this should be used on hair that has had previous chemical texture services of the same kind. So if it's a thio retouch, you're doing a thio retouch. If it's a hydroxide relaxer, you're doing a hydroxide retouch. And it starts a 1/4 to 1/2 an inch away from the scalp, and it includes only the new growth. To avoid overprocessing, do not apply to the hair close to the scalp the last few minutes. If previously relaxed hair requires additional straightening, you may apply it the last few minutes, but very carefully. Make sure you're watching and paying attention. Hydroxide relaxer retouch. Know that a texturizing or retexturizing service that uses a hydroxide relaxer to reduce the curl pattern by degrees. This procedure is texturizing. It's similar to that of relaxing, only it's gently combed through using a large tooth comb. And this allows you to observe the curl pattern if you just want to release a little bit, not the full-on straight hair. So know that there are different ways of getting curl reduction. Some manufacturers recommend the use of normalizing lotion after rinsing out the relaxer prior to shampooing. Normalizing lotions are conditioners with an acidic pH to restore the hair's natural hair and condition it. Option B is that many manufacturers include a normalizing or neutralizing shampoo that must be used after rinsing out the relaxer. It is an acidic shampoo designed to restore natural pH of hair and scalp, and it includes a color signal that will turn pink if exposed to the residues left in the hair. So you always want to make sure you're doing a thorough consultation. That will tell you everything. If the client's lifestyle is going to be able to, keep up with the relaxer. If they know that with the relaxer too, a touch-up is usually every 6 months or so, so you're getting 2 relaxers a year, or what they would call 2 perms a year. Take a look at the chart, figure this out on what you want to use from this chart. This comes in handy when you're behind the chair. And know that, so I'll go through this with you to make sure you're understanding this. The sodium hydroxide is going to be a pH between 12.5 and 14. It's marketed as lye. Its advantages and disadvantages. Advantage is that it's very effective for extremely curly hair. Disadvantage may cause scalp irritation and damage the hair. Lithium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, pH of 12.5 to 4, no mix, no lye relaxer. It's very effective for extremely curly hair. The downside, it may cause scalp irritation and damage the hair. Guanidine hydroxide, pH of 13 to 14, no lye relaxer. It causes less skin irritation than other hydroxide relaxers. The downside, it's more drying to the hair with repeated use, unless you're using chelating shampoo. Ammonium thioglycolate, 9.6 to 10, thio relaxer and no lye relaxer it's marketed as. It's compatible with soft curl permanence, but the disadvantage, a strong, unpleasant ammonia smell, which is the least of your worries. Ammonium sulfite, ammonium bisulfite, pH of 6.5 to 8.5, low pH relaxer, no lye relaxer. Advantage is less damaging to the hair. Downside, it may not sufficiently relax extremely curly hair. Just make sure you keep it on longer. I've also had, we had to do relaxers when I was in cosmetology school, and I'll never forget this. We had one of my classmates that had the stuff in his hand. He went like this, and it actually caused a chemical burn here, and he lost part of his eyebrow, which finally grew back. Thank goodness. I got yelled at for trying to smell it. I'm like, what does it smell like? And my teacher goes, please tell me you're not smelling that caustic chemical. We also made the mistake, so we tried to relax. Each of us did a little piece at a time, and there was only 6 of us. So we kept doing that, and we had the relaxer on the hair for almost over an hour, which is unheard of. This mannequin had lost so much hair, it was terrifying. We had a good lesson in how not to treat the hair, and we had a good lesson in what to be careful of. Hair was just shedding and shedding and shedding. My teacher was so upset, so it was a liability lecture. I actually make my students do that intentionally, so they see what happens when you over relax. It had a foul odor. It was really bad. That's how we knew that we really messed up. So then, something that is more modern that a lot of people love, I actually remember seeing this come out. I feel old. Keratin straightening treatments. I remember when they first hit the market, when they became popular, when it was a brand new thing and everyone wanted them. They were marketing these. They would say, oh, if you have bleach blonde hair, go ahead and use this. Well, guess what? That was before we realized that keratin over very bleached hair will only make it dry and brittle because protein drives out moisture. They forgot we need to prep the hair. We need a balance of protein and moisture. They also didn't research that formaldehyde gas can be very toxic. So you have to be very careful and very informed before deciding to do one of these, get one done, or have them in your salon if you're an owner. My salon now, we outlawed them. We banned them. Keratin straightening treatments are called smoothing treatments or Brazilian keratin treatments. They're available and widely used. I'm gonna challenge the widely used part. A lot of salons are waking up and not using them. Some of them are being very careful, like they're using Saison, not ammonia-free, formaldehyde-free. Also be careful because you typically need specialized training to get this. I've gotten great results from using the Sally Beauty Supplier one because it's the same chemical. Other brands try to sell you on certain things. The chemical's a chemical. And that's another thing I wanted to add in this thing. People talk about no odor perms, no odor relaxers. You still have that chemical. Perfuming it, making it smell better, it's still that chemical and every bit as damaging. So also know that keratin straightening treatments contain silicone polymers and formalin or other ingredients which release formaldehyde gas when heated with a high temperature. Some keratin straightening treatments are marketed as formaldehyde-free and have been found to contain formalin. So it was false marketing. Look up those lawsuit cases. They used to have people wearing a mask. Our salon used to have the vent and it would suck it up. So at my old salon, what I would do is I'd actually call. If we had a client that was expecting or pregnant, this is good ethics. You call them up and explain, hey, we have some people that are coming in for keratin treatments. Can I please book you in the last few hours? That way you come in, there's gonna be none of the gas left. Just give them the heads up and give them that choice before you expose them to that. You cannot use keratin straightening treatments on someone who's pregnant. It says on the box, do not use it. Also know that do not confuse keratin straightening treatments with keratin conditioning treatments. They're very different. Keratin conditioning treatments have a conditioning ingredient that's going to nourish the hair, and they don't straighten the hair. These treatments do. They're also called semi-permanent straightening treatments because you're coating the hair, but also because if you're using at very high heat at a 450-degree iron, you will break some bonds. That's a given. Keratin straightening treatments work by fixing the keratin in place with a semi-permanent manner. They do not break bonds, the book claims, but I'll tell you they may break bonds. I've had one done. So I've had a thio done, I've had this done. I had it done, and when it grew out, my hair was so limp and dead from the treatment that this looked like it was half straight and this looked like it was curly. So I had people thinking I actually purposely curled this and straightened this, which was trendy last year, but it's not something I wanted. I wore it before it was trendy. But it was actually pretty bad. I had to try to like cut my hair as short as I could go and then like let it grow out, and now it's pretty much all gone from my hair. But it was a really rough time. Also, when I worked at a beauty supplier, I had someone come in and she wanted to straighten her boyfriend's hair, and I always say choose the option of least harm. He had very curly hair. She was gonna go and put sodium hydroxide on his head without getting the normalizing shampoo, and I was like, no! Always use a thigh relaxer. That is what I relax. I never use sodium hydroxide anymore. So I told her that, and I also said, look, if you don't want to try the relaxer, like the thigh relaxer, try the keratin treatment. If that doesn't work, then you go to the next strongest thing, which would be the thio. Know that once the treatment is applied, the hair is blow dried and a flat iron is set at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And in very small sections, one by one, you're gonna get polymerization. You're gonna polymerize the coating on the hair with the heat. You're gonna heat fix it. You're gonna shampoo the hair many times with the clarifying shampoo, get all the gunk off the hair. And then what you're gonna do is blow dry the hair, and then when the hair is all nice and blow dried, you're gonna go in, apply the treatment. Make sure you don't do too much. If you oversaturate the hair with the treatment, you're not gonna get straighter. It's gonna make them feel like they're wearing a leather hat. Be careful not to get a lot on their scalp because that will itch and irritate it and feel like they're wearing a leather hat. Wear gloves. If you get this on your hands, it will dry them out and you'll feel like you have leather on your hands that lasts for a while. And if you put too much, you're gonna be hitting it with the iron and all that gas is gonna come up and you're gonna really be choking. Also, if you are sick or just recovering from a flu or pneumonia or anything, do not do this treatment, because I did that one time when I was recovering from whooping cough, and I will never forget, it felt like I had pimples on my lungs. And the gas was coming up and I was like, oh my gosh, it was the oddest feeling ever. Never again. So know that this service is also a luxury service. It takes very long, usually 2 hours, but you're going to charge a lot of money, typically $600 to $1,000 or more. Know that on longer or very dense hair, formalin is reactive to proteins and creates a chemical link or bridge with them when heated, so as to release formaldehyde, meaning that it's going to probably stink a little bit more. Know that you want to have a good ventilation system. So OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, they give you a limit. So you don't want to exceed 0.75 parts per million ppm over an 8-hour period. Local source capture ventilation is recommended, primarily because flat ironing takes place so close to the client's and stylist's face, and the stylist may be exposed for long periods of time because you're doing keratin after keratin. Also, gas travels upwards, so you're going to be inhaling more of that than the client. Know that because the coating breaks down over time, the client can be exposed to these vapors even when the treatment is complete. That's why they recommend the client wait at least 72 hours after the treatment before taking a shower, because a hot shower, if you do it immediately after, it'll release all those vapors and you'll be choking. Also know that some of this stuff is colored, so tell the client, if you're rinsing your hair, don't be shocked if the solution's coming out pink. That's normal. That was the rapid one. They now make a day one where you put it on the hair and you wait a day, the express treatment. The only thing that's different is the chemistry makeup, I think. But I'll tell you, with the express treatment, wait the full 3 days before you wash your hair. That way you can really be safe and let it last. I've gone almost a week without washing and it had the treatment last a lot longer. Generally, keratin straightening treatments eliminate up to 95% of frizz and curl, and they last 3 to 5 months. They are not usually appropriate for extremely curly, tight, or coiled hair. Although this is an advanced treatment, it says that no certification is actually required. But most manufacturers do require specialized training in both the service and the aftercare. I know that, Coppola is one of them, where they make you do a training with them. So does Cezanne, I think. So make sure you discuss maintenance with the client. This is not a treatment you can get and just go in the pool. Typically what you want to do is tell them you got to stay out of the water, do this on a downtime. You don't want to do this treatment when it's raining out, because you have to keep the hair in a straight position. The first 24 hours are key. So don't have the client put their hair in a ponytail or a band, because that will cause a permanent band in the hair when the hair rehardens. You're heating the hair up extremely hot, and it's going to make the hair be super silk and smooth. Know that they should avoid getting their hair wet for 72 hours. If it gets damp, tell them to blow dry immediately and go over it with a flat iron and low heat. They should wear their hair down. They should not use pins, clips, or ponytail holders. And you want to determine the length of a density before applying a price. Typically, if it's shorter hair, you're going to be able to do it in an hour. As opposed to 1,000, you might cut it to 600. That's really personal on the area. Some areas, 1,000 may be too expensive or too cheap. Know that you might have to precondition before a keratin treatment. Because if the hair is porous, you want to fill it. You want to make sure everything's even porosity. They says the book recommends to color your hair before the treatment. I'm not argue that, because what happens is if you color the hair, you will get some fadage with this. Because at a very high heat setting, guess what? It's going to fade that color. You're not using a heat protectant. You're only using the product and fixing it in there. So you will get some fading with this. Tell the client not to freak out. They can color their hair in a few days later. I always say keep it safe and follow the manufacturer's instructions. Some of them might say a few days, other might say a few weeks. So make sure that you follow the directions about using the clarifying shampoo. The book also tells you not to use a clarifying shampoo on a client that has 70% or more highlights because it might dry it, but you have to get them build up off. If you do a combination of a chelating shampoo and a clarifying shampoo, you'll get a really good result. You'll get all the minerals out, so you'll get a nice result with penetration of the keratin solution. Know that if the client wants a toner or demi-gloss, if they want to have that, it should be done at least 3 to 5 days after the treatment to prevent color loss and to avoid wetting newly straightened hair. So I always, keep it safe and I'll go the 2 weeks, let it really fix in their hair. But if they really want it, what I'll do is after they wash their hair 3 days later, they'll come back into the salon 5 days later. We'll do the toner. But because keratin straightening treatments do coat the hair, a strand test may show the product you've chosen will not cover the cuticle to the desired degree. So if they have some gray, you want to be mindful of that. Also know that certain products may discolor hair. I know that There are certain relaxers you cannot use in gray hair because it will turn it a different color. Make sure, and same with perms as well. Some perms are like that. They'll have a gray formula. If you're using a hydroxide relaxer, and that's really where discoloration occurs with gray hair, get the gray coverage formula, because if you have one that doesn't, what happens is you can actually cause a client's hair to go green or yellow or a really gross color. That happened to my teacher, and to try to fix it, she had to use a semi-permanent shampoo to offset it. So you don't want to be in that boat and be that stylist to cause that. Also know that some relaxers do come, before I forget this, they come with a color built in, so you can actually color and relax at the same time. It's pretty cool technology. But the downside is that removing that color from the hair is near impossible if they don't like it. The last thing we're going to talk about is soft curl perming, and that's also called jerry curl. It does not straighten the hair, it just takes really coiled hair and it relaxes it. The procedure is you apply the thiol like you normally would, relax the hair a little bit. You're going to rinse the product out of the hair, and then you're going to wind the hair in a perm rods, bendy rods, or loop rods. Then you're going to apply the smoother to the top of the rod, process, rinse, towel blot, and then neutralize. Rinse and then style. The soft curl permanent is a combination of a thiol relaxer and a thiol permanent that is wrapped on large rods to make existing curls larger and looser, or simply called a curl. In some markets it is called a perm, but for others the word perm is used for permanent relaxing service. Always make sure you clarify what's meant by that term. Soft curl permanents use ammonium thioglycolate or a thiol-free chemical such as histamine. So make sure that you're always aware of what's going on in the hair. You don't want to have a scalp that's itchy or irritated. Read the safety stuff. It's pretty much the same stuff that I've rehashed. Read your procedures, and we're going to have some amazing fun if you have me doing demos in the class, because I teach you how to do the modern stuff as well as the traditional stuff. So study hard. I know it's a really rough chapter, but it's important stuff to know, especially if you like chemistry, and it does get better with time. So thank you all for being very patient with this. The next chapter is going to be very fun. It's our last chapter of the hair service, and it's hair coloring. We're going to get colorful. So I'll see you guys soon. Take a break, relax, no pun intended, and no using Drano on your hair.